What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increase their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if, through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst in sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation, mindset, and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Welcome to Omnipresent Awareness with Shilpa. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, owner and founder of Omni Mindfulness Coaching. Before we get started, if you haven't already booked a free discovery session with me, click on the link in the description. I'm a holistic transformational life coach, specializing in helping midlife mompreneurs bring balance, clarity, and life alignment both personally and professionally, so that you may live your best life. There is tremendous healing value in simply being able to know someone is holding authentic space for you to listen and be accessible as an accountability partner and mentor. If you feel overwhelmed, or if you feel the need for some support navigating life as a mother or as an entrepreneur, I would love to provide you with my coaching. If any anecdotes from the stories of the guests from this episode or any of the podcast episodes resonate with you, or if you find any value at all from the content from these episodes, then consider booking a free discovery call with me. Together, we can manifest my vision to be instrumental in the biggest rise in consciousness and awareness and human transformation. And now, here is today's episode. Next up, life coach Mark Pearson. Mark grew up in Connecticut and received a bachelor's in outdoor education from the University of New Hampshire. Prior to becoming a life coach, he held eclectic positions that included working as a high school teacher for youth at risk, a professional mega yacht captain, as well as some sales and business development roles. With this eclectic history, the common thread through his positions were that he was a leader and communicator. Mark is now the founder and CEO of 369 Consultants. He formed 369 Consultants, a life coaching practice to serve people that need help in achieving their goals. He works both as a generalist to help people who want to affect change in their lives, and also as a specialist, serving parents of toddlers to teenagers to help them increase their ability to foster harmonious and loving relationships using strength-based systems for improving client communication and self-awareness through understanding wisdom and through building nurturing relationships. Mark's studies were with Robbins-Madanes Training, the Coaching Institute, and Empowerment Coach Academy. He gained insight and clarity on who he is as a person while simultaneously learning the skills and tools to use as a professional life coach in helping clients reach their goals, overcome their life challenges, and reframe their experiences. When he's not working as a life coach, Mark enjoys creating experiences with his daughter, as well as enjoying hiking, camping, and being in nature. And now, here's Mark. Hey, Mark. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Hi, Shilpa. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's awesome. Happy 2022.
Yeah, likewise.
So let's jump in. I'm so excited to have you here. There's so much overlap in how our paths have pivoted into the path of life coaching.
Yeah.
So let's start with share with our audience how you would say what intentional living means to you.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So to me, it means kind of the alignment with a couple other things as well. And maybe like together they make a trifecta. And so for me, it's first about having an awareness of something, like just being conscious that you want to do something or that something exists. And then melding that into intention becomes like the mental space at kind of where you want to go or something that you want to see take place or come to fruition. And then the third piece of the trifecta kind of being that of action, where it's like you can be as aware or as full of intention as possible, but in order to translate that into your actual living and your day-to-day, that to me takes action. And so it's like those three together, the awareness combined with intention, and then finally action, put it all into place. And like for me, it's okay to not be going like full throttle, like 100%, 110% all the time. Like for me, it starts with that awareness piece. And that awareness piece might be like operating at like 1%. It's like the seed is sown. And then that gets multiplied by the intention to like maybe 10 times. So maybe you're starting at 1% with awareness. It gets multiplied by 10 times. So you're at 10% with intention. But then through that action, say maybe we multiply that just by 8 times, then you're at 80%. And to me, that's winning. Like for me, being 100% all the time is kind of just not realistic. And so to me, winning is operating at that like 80% space. And I don't know, do you know Napoleon Hill?
I believe I know that name, yes.
Yeah, so he wrote Think and Grow Rich. And then a little while ago, I read another book by him called Outwitting the Devil. And I highly recommend that book to you and all the listeners out there. He wrote it, gosh, I don't know, I want to say like maybe like 4 decades ago or something. And it wasn't released because it was so far ahead of its time. But it's really, really prudent today. And I think they released it finally like several years ago or something. But he talks about the idea of drifters and how people, like 98% of the population, he thinks are drifters. And so it's like those people without intention that are just sort of going through life. And I remember one chapter in it, and it's about having the like definiteness of purpose. And so that 2% of people that have within them the awareness and the intention and then take it to action, that those are the people that, you know, really get successful, that are reaching that 80% and like they're winning at life sort of thing. And then I think like intentional living also to me means it's allowing our intentions to grow by kind of decluttering things that aren't important in our life. So it's like getting the weeds out of the way for the flowers to grow. And for me, the decluttering can take, can like come to fruition in a couple different areas. One would be like physical space, right? Like just walking into your house and like, is your kitchen cluttered, or, you know, are the countertops a mess or something? And so that kind of just allows you to get distracted and therefore like off of what your intentions might be. Like for that afternoon, you're going to have to declutter your kitchen instead of doing something that you would really wanted to do. So I think it's important to kind of declutter the physical space that you live in. And then also there's a degree of your headspace, like literally what's going on between your ears, right? Your gray matter, and like what is that self-talk that you're giving yourself, or what is that languaging that someone else might have, said and you've picked up on, and you're kind of operating in that headspace. And so it's like decluttering that out to see what your intentions are. And then, of course, dropping it into the heart space, like with your emotions, kind of what are your intentions and your needs and your desires around your emotions and your heart space. I think that getting in alignment with that really helps someone live intentionally. And then finally, like the idea of just like decluttering your time, because time is all that we all really have. And it's something that, like money, it can like come into our lives, but like money you can recreate, but with time, like it just comes and then goes. And so sort of decluttering away from like time sucks during your day, or like little things that don't really matter. And so giving yourself the space in your schedule to live intentionally so that you're doing those activities that are most important for you.
That is spot on how I feel about so many areas of mindfulness.
Is that right?
Absolutely. We'll have another off conversation just about this, but the very act of living with awareness and making it an intentional thing every morning when I open my journal, that what is my intention for today? What am I aware of myself that I need to shift today to make it better? And then taking action. And like you said, you can't be 100%. I mean, maybe that's not what you meant, but it feels like I can't be 100% every day.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And so that's great. So that's a mindfulness practice that you do every morning.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll share more about that, but I just wanted to say that what you said so resonated with me. Now, could you share a little bit about your journey on how you found perhaps your purpose, not only as a father, but as a life coach?
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, I would say like, going back as an expecting father, I was like picking up clues by, talking with family and friends and reading books on what it's going to be like to be a father, to be a dad. But there was like nothing like being there, at the birth of my daughter when she actually went into a little bit of fetal distress. And so, she was like whisked away to another part of the room, and I went with her and just kind of like being there with her and like having that just complete immersion into the moment. And then really the very first night, when we were in like our own private room, and Skyra, so I had my own bed, right? And my ex-wife had her own bed. And then like in between us was Skyra. And then middle of the night, like Skyra puked. And like there was no nurse. There was, ex-wife was like passed out from her childbirth. And then I just like sat up and like grabbed Skyra and like flipped her over and took care of her. And it was like that just, I had this new connection and this newfound confidence that filled me up and felt so natural. Like I had no idea it was going to feel like that. Like with all the friends and the family and the books and that sort of stuff, it was like all of a sudden I was just like that complete alignment with being a dad and like intentionally taking care of, what she needed. And so we decided that I would be a stay-at-home dad. And so I just went all in on being the best dad that I could be, for our daughter. And then, of course, what that looks like now, like as she's grown up, well, she's almost 6, it's all changed. But, I've continued to reach out for support with family, friends, and, dad's groups and parenting groups. And just to research what kids are going through at certain ages. And I think the biggest thing for me was and is just like to let the student be the master, if you will, like her idea of play. Like at first I thought that, I'm going to like help her learn this or, teach her this or share this. But then I realized that like, it's just so much more beautiful, more empowering for kids to let their intentions come through. And like my purpose is just really merely to support her and to be conscious of how I shape her life. And I try to keep in mind the spirit of like walking with her through the journeys of life and intentionally choosing where I am. So on this kind of like, fictitious walk through life with her, there are times when I'm walking in front of her, so like really leading her. Other times I'm just on her side. Maybe she needs her hand held or just to know that I'm there. And then other times like she's really the leader and like I'm behind her and she's just doing her thing. And, I'm making sure she's not like going off the rails or over a cliff or whatever, but like she's got it, she's got it. And so just having that faith has been, just so rewarding, and I'm a really proud dad.
I can see that, and I think that by virtue of being a dad, where you found your purpose as someone who is conscientiously there for them, intentionally living with them, as a teacher or as a friend, I think you're able to then take this into this new part of your life, which is coaching, more specifically on parenting. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. So finding my purpose as a life coach, that came about as an idea of wanting to reinvent myself as a person and a professional. So the seeds for it were sown at the beginning of last year with the finalization of my divorce and then also of the passing away of my dad, my own dad. Yeah, thanks. And so COVID's challenges, they had me look at how I could best serve people while maintaining a home-based business. So that allowed me the flexibility in my schedule to like continue to be super present for Skyra. And then also, I don't know, have that kind of idea of safety. Like, I'm not going out in the world and like meeting all these tons of people face to face and, serving in that way, just to maintain, my own health for me and my daughter. And so several years ago, I actually attended a Tony Robbins event, the Unleash the Power Within event that he has, where like I don't know if you've done it or seen it, but like walking on coals, right? So like that whole mindset space. And so he came back on my radar last summer. And so I enrolled in his life coach certification program. And so I felt that would be a great way to like deepen myself and do my own personal work, but then also to serve others and to help them with whatever they might be going through. And so, the intention was to work as just a generalist with anyone that would like to have some sort of a goal met and assistance with it. And then I drilled down into specifically what really resonated with me is being a parent and family coach. And then within that, I've got a special niche of working with dads specifically. So whether they're married or divorced or single, what have you, it really doesn't matter. It's just, dads who want to spend significantly more quality time with their kids so that they don't feel like they're missing out on their kids' lives.
And that is so profound, given that I've had conversations with friends that live or have moved from Europe, and the type of privileges, I would say, they have with parents and dads being able to spend more time with their children after the birth of the child.
Right.
Have that, and it's something that my husband and I have had many conversations around. Now, during COVID, just prior to that, we were able to be more present working from home. But I think it is something to be looked into more deeper, because I feel like being present for your children also requires being home at more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so it's like, a question of what sacrifices need to happen around the workspace, or maybe changing where someone works, or changing the commute, or changing the frequency that they're in their workspace, in their office, or what have you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, how do you integrate any mindfulness modalities to your work or everyday life? And modalities could be something as simple as a 5 morning meditation or going for a walk, anything that resonates with you. Maybe you could share, perhaps not only to the general audience, but even specifically any dads that are listening to this.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, thanks for that. So for me, it goes back to that awareness piece. The very beginning, that seed that gets sown, kind of just like thinking about things and being aware of something. And what I like to do is I like to do a body scan. And so I have found that literally just changing my physiology sometimes has helped me, say, work through a problem or get more inspiration on something. So maybe it's just before our call here, I was sitting down, and so I have one of those, stand-up desks, and so I moved it to standing up. And if I found that just changing my physiology sometimes gives me insight or gives me new energy into something. And so I try to do that mindfully several times a day. And then I also do breathing exercises. So yeah, like you mentioned, one of the things that I do when I start the day is breathing exercises. And I also do them later on in the day if I'm feeling low energy. So like after 12 noon, I don't drink any caffeine. But if I get low energy, I can do these breathing exercises, which for me, they've come from Wim Hof. I don't know if you know him, the Iceman. He's got like tons of world records as far as like being able to like stay underwater in freezing ice, for the longest time, and climbing Everest, with like just shorts on. Serious. Yeah. And so he has a set of breathing, but I think any type of, there's a lot of different breathing exercises. But that has enabled me to literally kind of like reoxygenate myself and give me energy naturally that way. And I also try to be mindful of my space, my workspace, my home, in limiting distractions. And so that might be like not having a ton of windows on my computer open. Or it's also, I've turned off, almost every single notification on my phone. Like, when you get a new app, they're like, allow notifications. I'm always like, no, because it allows me to be intentional on going in and checking things and not to be distracted. And it allows me to limit multitasking and really like focus on the task at hand, or focus on what I'm doing and be present with like one sense at a time. Like if I'm going for a walk, it's really just kind of being intentional about that walk and feeling, the wind or smelling the flowers or whatever, and using that mindfulness as a way to kind of allow inspiration to come into me by not being distracted. And I like to get in touch with my thoughts and my higher self, like spirit guides, through an exercise that I've developed where I bring myself back to a physical space that I went to the University of New Hampshire, and there was a spot called College Woods. And there's a bridge over a pretty big stream. And I like to bring myself there when I'm dealing with a challenge or want to get inspired or what have you. And I see a piece of paper coming down the river, and it might be an emotion, or, a problem or something. And so written on it is the topic at hand that I'm focusing on. And then it passes underneath me on the bridge, and then it floats downstream. And so I'm able to like let it go. And so the thoughts and the emotions, I allow them to come in and I fully feel them. And then I make the practice of letting it go. And, then things will evolve from that. And so when I work with someone through the life coaching, I have them very much be the leader, and I have them talk about what they use. Like, how do they identify? For me, I have the idea of like higher self and spirit guides, and I use this bridge, but what's in their life that they use as a resource, and then I see how they can, I work with them on expanding that, like for their own benefit. And so whatever it might be that they use as a tool or a coping mechanism or something like that, and then developing, from there where they can, gain more strengths and be intentional on things.
Oh, that's wonderful. It sounds like you conscientiously, the way you are parenting your daughter, you're using almost a similar approach with your clients, that you're allowing them to be themselves. You're simply there to support them and come to their own understanding, or I would say evolution.
Yeah, that's a great observation. I would say you nailed it. I've learned a lot in the life coaching of just that it's kind of like it's like co-parenting or what have you. Like it's very much like a parallel relationship that we're going on, as a coach and client. And it's like, I don't have all the answers for anything, but it's a development, and it's a guide and a help, and having the client be accountable to things, and things that they've come up with that they want. And so, it's a very much like a co-creation and a sharing of things.
That is wonderful. I absolutely enjoyed hearing the process of how you do that, not only as a parent, but also as a coach. Any final insights that you would love to share with our audience, particularly maybe potentially any dads that are listening, on how to live with intention and finding a purpose in life? And how would you describe it? Early on, you described some word. I think you called it Napoleon Hill called it. Mm-hmm. And so I think you used the word drifters, correct?
Yes. Yep. Drifters. Like he says, like 98% of the people on the planet are drifters, just kind of like wandering through life.
Yeah, absolutely. So those that are maybe becoming more aware that they've been drifting, they would like to have a life purpose, what final insights would you like to share with them? And from the perspective of a dad, I would think that many dads, particularly these last 2 years, have been so challenging for many of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so much to be said for and experienced and realized through having gratitude for what someone already has in their life. And so, that dad or that parent, like, what do they have already to be thankful for in their relationships with their kids and their family, and then extended family and coworkers or what have you? What do they have to be thankful for? Physical space. Do they have a roof over their head? Do they have a car? All these things. So what can someone be grateful for that they have in their life already? And then having gratitude around what you are intending, like that intention that you have, and believing that it's like already in your life, like thanking the universe or thanking yourself or thanking your community for already having that in your life and doing that daily. So practicing that gratitude, having a gratitude journal, writing things down. And it's not just like saying it and being up in your head and thinking about it, but it's like how you really feel, like really feeling so thankful that you do have a roof over your head, or that you were able to have a great meal, or that you've got 4 kids, and really that feeling that you get of just like being so thankful for something, and the importance of that feeling and dropping down into your heart versus just thinking it or just writing it saying like, oh, yep, I'm thankful for that. Like, I think that there's a real difference there of being able to feel thankfulness and being gratitude, holding gratitude. And maybe another tool in this and developing intention around someone's life could be what's called 50 stacks. So like, say someone wants to be a singer or a musician. So they've got that great intention, they're aware of it, they're starting to put things into action. And then the suggestion is like writing 50 things down of like how it would make them feel. What would their life look like? What would it look like if they were on stage or in a recording studio, and like literally stacking like 50 ideas, just like writing it out. And so that really can get the subconscious, the conscious mind, like infusing together and creating that intention and putting it into action. And then, they're living that life of their purpose, the purpose in their life. And so, yeah, it's like listening to your inner self, your higher self, or your gut, however you might identify with just kind of like that inner knowing, whether it's like a spiritual feeling, a religious feeling, or, whatever it might be that is kind of that little spark within yourself, and taking those little steps and putting them into action, I think is huge. And I would say finally that another fun little exercise is, I call it a burning ceremony. I don't know if you've like done this or heard of them or whatever, but I like to do them when it's either like a full moon or a new moon. Because if you think of the tides and, what the moon does to the Earth's tides and how powerful those forces are. So yeah, either during a full moon or a new moon, writing down on one sheet of paper kind of what you want to release. So something you want to let go in your life. And then on another sheet, you're writing down all the things that you want to invoke. So things that you want to create. So the intentions, and where you want to go and what you want your life to look like. And yeah, obviously, we're here in San Diego, so do it smartly so we don't do any wildfires. But yeah, just doing those sort of intentions and putting it out there to the universe of letting things go, but creating things at the same time and invoking things. That can be another way to, help people get focused on their intentions and create the lives that they want.
That is absolutely wonderful. And all of these techniques that you've provided, they appear like they're a holistic set. It's not just a single faceted. You're thinking about the mind and getting out of the mind space, getting into the heart through the gratitude, and then letting go of what doesn't serve you through the burning ceremony, but invoking what you need. It's all connected to how can I harness the energy to really get clarity on my life purpose. That means single faceted. It could be like, for your case and my case, we are coaches, but by the same token, we are parents, and it's the multifaceted life purpose.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I like how you said it's about clarity and yeah, really how multifaceted all of this is. And yeah, it's just fun and energizing stuff.
It is fun and energizing. And you're around a level of energy that I think increases your vibration which is awesome. We all need that.
Yeah, we sure do. Yep, today more than ever.
Well, thank you again, Mark. And your podcast will be airing before the end of January for the theme of living intentionally and living a life of purpose.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Shilpa.
It's been a pleasure. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye. Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.